Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Business Point on Global Television, where we x-ray Nigeria's economy, we talk about tech, we talk about innovation, as well as government policies. And I am Queen Agaba. The Central Bank of Nigeria ordered banks operating in the country to start charging a cybersecurity levy on transactions. A circular from the Apex Bank on Monday, 6th of May 2024 disclosed that the implementation of the levy will start 2 weeks from then. The circular was directed to all commercial merchants, non-interest and payment service banks, among others. The CBN says that all banks and other financial institutions and payment service providers are now required to implement the directive, saying the levy shall be applied at the point of electronic transfer origination and then deducted and remitted by the financial institution. The deducted amount will be reflected in the customer's account with the narration Cybersecurity Levy. The deduction and collection of the cybersecurity level is sequel to the enactment of the 2024 Cybercrime Prohibition Prevention Amendment Act of 2024, which provides for a 0.5% deduction of the value of all electronic transactions to the National Cybersecurity Fund, which will be administered by the Office of the NSA. The circular noted that the deduction will be described as thus, and it will begin in 2 weeks. However, Nigerians have reacted to this development, particularly the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC), that has opposed the Central Bank of Nigeria's directive for all financial institutions to impose this cybersecurity tax on every electronic transaction. In a statement on Tuesday, NLC President Joe Ajaero criticized the directive, calling it an additional burden on hardworking Nigerians. Ajaero also demanded that the policy be reversed and a new cybersecurity measure that does not impose another financial burden on the Nigerian people be introduced. Joining me on the program is my guest, Daniel Ekape, who is a financial analyst, to discuss this and more. Good morning, Daniel. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, hopefully we get connected with our guest. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, if you've just joined us, this is Business Point on Global Television, where we x-ray Nigeria's economy. We talk about tech, innovation, and government policies. And before the break, I'd introduced my guest, Daniel Ikape, to discuss the central bank's directives that banks operating in the country would start charging a cybersecurity levy on transactions, and also reactions from Nigerians following these new policy, particularly the NLC, the Nigerian Labour Congress, that has opposed the Central Bank of Nigeria's directive for all financial institutions to impose a 0.5% cybersecurity tax on every electronic transaction. I said in a statement on Tuesday, the NLC President Joe Ajaero criticized the directive, calling it an additional burden on hard-working Nigerians, demanding that the policy be reversed and a new cybersecurity measure that does not impose another financial burden on the Nigerian people be introduced. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you
It's a
for
pleasure
having
to
me.
have you on the program.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Now,
Yeah.
Nigerians have been reacting to this development of a 0.5% cybersecurity levy for, you know, for every transaction. We've seen a lot of reactions. We've seen a lot of people do the maths saying that for every 1,000 naira, 0.5% is taken out. And if you're making as much as 5 million naira, the levy goes as far as 50,000 naira for cybersecurity. What do you make of this development?
Yeah. So from the masses, there's been a lot of dissatisfaction from the masses and everyone complaining about the levies adding up to the previous VAT, levies on SMS, levies. It's been like a whole lot of burden on the on the masses. So I think the government has to look into the policy again and then have to meet up with the stakeholders and get reviews, do more assessments before before the policy should go up because I saw there's a 2 weeks for it to to kickstart. So I think they have to do more deliberations before that should commence because the masses are dissatisfied. A whole lot of issues around that, fuel, everything, and all coming together and having this um, it's a whole lot of burden on the masses. So I think the government should actually look into it and um, review the policy.
Now, on the part of the government, government and organizations like this might consider such levies to tackle the rising cost of cybersecurity threats. Particularly in Nigeria, we've had quite a number of cybersecurity threats, including frauds and all that. And then we also have a need for improved technology. I mean, skilled personnel in the banking sector and better defense basically against increasing cyber attacks. If we have a specific context or location where this levy is being um, discussed, or maybe where it has been implemented before, like globally, can we compare? Do you think that we've had cybersecurity issues for quite a number of time now, for a long time coming now? I know Nigerians are reacting, but in your opinion, do you think that we need this? Do you think that the implementation of this is actually going to tackle cybersecurity in Nigeria?
Well, when you talk about cybersecurity, it's actually a good practice, the best practice worldwide. But when you now bring it to the Nigerian context and then with the with everything happening around, so that's where the question of is this the right time for it? Is this can it really fly now? And then questions around um, social economic impacts on the people, right? and then you thinking of how other ways you could better bring in these services, and then not and then without it really creating more burden on the citizens. Of course, cybersecurity, it's a very, very important subject. This is something every government would actually want to take seriously. But now the implementation and then the context to Nigeria, and then given the situation of our economy at this point now, poses poses the question of if this is actually the right time for it, and then um, will the people actually be able to sustain another levy added to the other bank charges and the rest. So I think these are some of the concerns. Um, these are some of the concerns most Nigerians have. They don't really have a problem with tackling the fraud and all those cyber challenges. The main issue is um, the main issue is the fact that there are a whole lot of charges already, ranging from the VAT, you have the SMS charges, you have charges on the ATM card, you have a whole lot of charges, and all this amounts to a lot, and it's already becoming a burden to Nigerians. So the thing is, this concept of the cyber security, is a good one if the government can find a way of financing it, and also making the cyberspace secure. It's a welcome development, but the concern now is with the implementation and adding more levy on the masses. So I think what our advice is for the stakeholders have to meet. Stakeholders should include the business people, the telecoms, um, the public. They should meet and deliberate before pushing the policy out. Well, these are my thoughts around this.
Very valuable contributions. Now let's talk about how the cost of the levy would be distributed if this levy goes ahead to be implemented. Following, we know that there are reactions, and Nigerians are really reacting and asking that there's a reversal of this policy of 0.5%. But if we were to have a levy of this nature, of course, taxes are not new here in the world, and especially here in Nigeria. But the thing is, Nigerians want to see better, for example, better working conditions. You would agree with me when we pay taxes like this, whether be it road transportation taxes and all that. Let it be benefits. People are saying we want to see benefits for every of the tax we're being asked to pay. Let us see a corresponding result. If I'm paying for tax, let it be. Let me have HMOs and all of that regarding my health and all of that. Would you say that the tax system in Nigeria offers that benefit whenever there's a levy or there's a tax for any of these things? Are they corresponding?
Well, so just like you said, that's one thing Nigerians always look out for. We want to really see value for our services. We want to see value for whatever we're putting in our cash in. So I think if the government is able to convince the masses that if the government is really able to convince the masses that this would actually solve the problem, I think that will go a long way to get the confidence of the masses. So I believe going forward, if we're able to get value for our input and our result, that would be a long way. That would be a long way to help and also to build the confidence of the people.
All right. Okay. What is the projected economic burden on companies subjected to this levy now? Because, Daniel, I saw a video, not really, I saw a video and then I read a tweet where a banker made a video this morning and said, you know what, this levy has been imposed now. We know that there are going to be a lot of economic burdens on companies, especially in terms of operational costs and profitability. And then they say if Nigerians are reacting to this levy, the aggression should be channeled to the government and not to bankers. And then people don't come to the bank and harass bankers for when such levies are deducted, or this amount, this 0.5% is deducted from their banks. Already we know that we have a lot of charges that are coming in, a lot of incessant charges, and then this is added to it. And of course, there will be reactions from Nigerians when, if this happens, people are going to troop into the banks and all of that. Those are some of the reactions that we're going to get for financial institutions. Let's talk about the projected economic burden now on companies that are going to be subject to this levy.
Okay, so well, usually when you actually spoke about the burden on the financial institutions, that's where the stakeholders engagement really comes to play. So if the stakeholders are engaged and then they understand the terms and conditions of everything. So they really understand what this means and they don't go holding it on the banking sectors since they understand. So that's where the concept of orientation and those engagements and advocacy really plays a role. Then coming to the effect on companies. Well, the thing is, if running cost increases, it means it's going to lead to also increase in, if the cost of production increases, it's going to increase also the market values and the market rates, which in turn affects even the common man. And then we see that at the moment, purchasing power is not so high. A whole lot of commodities have gone ridiculously expensive, and so this in turn is going to have an effect. It's going to have a trickle effect on the masses, and so I think that's why a whole lot of people uh, are being disgruntled and dissatisfied with who determine your performance or your deliverables. So not necessarily the your income, but it has to do more with the infrastructures you have on ground. Yeah, so that's what really plays. That will what really make the difference between what we have here and what we have in other parts of the world.
And Daniel, we're also expected to have like an anticipated impact on prices of telecommunications and internet services for uh, consumers. This is the ripple effect of what this levy is going to do for for consumers of these services, internet services. We're sure that we're going to have, the prices of these services are going to go up, which is another issue and another economic issue. And then in terms of improvement, what specific cyber security initiatives or improvements will be funded by this levy? Let's look at, there's a levy now that is expected to tackle cyber security. What exactly would be done that has not been done previously? Prior to these times, we hear of cases where Nigerians just come up and say that, not just say, it happens from experience, that certain amount of money was moved from their accounts. We've had some of these persistent cybersecurity issues long coming now. And now they say this levy should tackle it. In your opinion, Daniel, what are the specifics? What initiatives do you think or improvements will be funded by this levy that will make a difference from what we already have presently?
So usually there are different stages of security. There are different stages of access. There are there are different stages of control. So so if and then usually there are different versions and updates. So if you want so if you're able to have a level of control right? So when it comes to the internet space, it has to do with your security has to also do with your level of control of access, um, how you're able to block intruders from coming into your space, how you're able to well control the access and other um, and yes, how you're able to how you're able to control your assets basically. And then so there are levels and layers to that. So if you're able to achieve the premium or the most optimum, so that helps you to get a better that helps you get a better infrastructure to to protect your devices from to better protect your devices from those intruders. So I um believe you're trying to upgrade that service to be able to get a better and an optimized version to to increase those access controls and other technologies that are required to prevent hackers and other intruders from the system. So there are always layers. There are always layers of control. Yeah, so that's it basically. If you're able to optimize your system to to a premium level, you stand a better chance of protecting against intruders.
Thank you. Then I'm just going to ask this final question. The levy, how does this compare to international practices? I mean, are there examples from other countries where similar levies have been implemented? What has been the outcomes? Like, if you know of any, and then how far, judging from the reactions from Nigerians, this is me just asking you, do you think that this policy or this levy will be implemented and then we'll see to penalties for those who will default or those who do not comply as regards this policy?
Okay, well, when it comes to cyber security, it's actually it's actually a world best practice. Okay, but there are also different aspects to it. So you have your database, right, which is very important, where you could actually trace and identify. Um, you have the database of everybody. Like that's what's happening in remote in other remote climates. You have a well functional database where you could link every individual to everything. So that helps. That goes a long way. That goes a long way to make their cyber system even um, better. Okay. So I think for Nigeria, we're still growing. Okay, we're still developing, and then I hope someday we'll get to that point where we have all those, we have everything in place. We have all the technologies we require to be able to um, track down and also improve improve our cyberspace because there's a whole lot of other models and components that you need to have on ground, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's it's actually progress. No system is actually usually completed in. You always get to there are times where you have to upgrade, updates, and all of those things are all a work in progress. So I hope we get there someday.
Um, I know I mentioned that that was going to be the last question I would ask, but let's just wrap this up here. There's been a lot of misconception. Some people say that, especially the aide to the president, Bayo Ononuga, who has come out to say that the charge for cybersecurity is 0.05%, as opposed to 0.5% that people say. And then I think Sheila also came out and made a tweet saying that, you know what, Nigerians are not reading it right or are just reacting to a 0.5% charge, which is not 0.5% charge, but 0.05 percent charge. It's a now deleted tweet though. Maybe I'm not doing the maths well, but when I did the maths, I know I did maths in, I did get good grades for maths in my GSS2, but maybe I'm not doing it well this time. It's 0.05% and the 0.5% happens to be the same thing by my maths. What do you think about this?
Okay. So the thing is, if the number is if the value is 0.05, it means it's less than 0.5%. So let's say, for example, you have a simple math. Let's say you have um, 50 naira, right?
Yeah.
So if 50 naira is the percentage you're supposed to pay when it's 0.5. So when it's now 0.05, you get to pay 5 naira. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dan. I want you to know that your contributions are valuable. Thank you for your time with us. Still have a beautiful day ahead.
Thank you so much for having me.
And so we take a quick break, and when we return, we'll look at news making rounds in the world of business. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, in business, Nigerians have expressed mixed feelings over power supply by distribution companies despite hike of electricity tariff. They say the situation has become worrisome and unbearable amid the economic situation in the country. Edika Michael has reports. We'll bring you that
Like a
detail.
stubborn helmet that has continued to defy treatment, the Nigerian power sector, which has undergone different level of diagnosis and treatment, appears to be resistant to the adverse of intervention from the public and private sector since the Nigeria attained its independence in 1960. Whatever the situation, the reality today is that many Nigerians do not currently have access to as much power supply as they want. In the Federal Capital Territory, residents react to the current state of power.
The electricity in this area, let me say Nigeria as a whole, the electricity is very, very poor.
I live in Life Camp and we are under Band A, and we have not been experiencing the 20 hours provision that we are supposed to have. So it has been epileptic, and really we can't do much. We definitely want government to do something about that to improve the electricity supply, and we will really appreciate that.
It's nothing to write home about. I know in some cities they have a substantial amount of power supply, but if you look at many other places, even in the city here in Abuja, we usually don't have. Sometimes we manage to get light maybe 6 hours a day. Sometimes it doesn't stay, it just come, it goes. And when I was growing up as a baby, and there will be light. So when light goes off and light comes in, we shout, they've brought light, hey, NEPA. Now I'm getting old. I'm coming of age. I don't expect that to still be happening now, especially when you are in Abuja.
It's nothing to really write home about, because I'm surprised that they came up with this banding system where they claim some people will be having power for 20 hours, 16 hours. But as far as I'm concerned, maybe it's just a way of getting some people to pay more. Because for us, in my area, we're in band B, and we don't even get light for days, and yet you say it's band B. So for me, I think the interest of the power company is what is being protected.
Based on my experience on how I met the electricity there was very, very bad, really, because they actually don't get light for more than 2 to 3 hours.
My experience our side, I think is a little bit good, but not like before. As of last year December, we're more like having frequent electricity. I think I can say we had electricity for up to like 15 hours a day last year December, but now it's not as it used to be, though it's just like a minimal decline in the way they give us electricity. But
The residents here at the Federal Capital Territory are calling on the government, particularly the Minister of Power, to hasten the process in restoring power to the darkened area of the city and the country. Edikan Michael reporting for Global TV News.
The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has given a 48-hour deadline to the federal government to withdraw the 0.5% cybersecurity levy imposed on Nigerian people. SERAP made this known in a statement on its official X handle to react to the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN's directives to commercial banks and other financial institutions to start charging cybersecurity levy. The federal government, through the Securities and Exchange Commission, is set to delist the Naira from all peer-to-peer crypto platforms as the government steps up efforts to tackle exchange rate manipulators and dollar racketeers. The development came against the backdrop of the recent moves by the federal government to regulate Nigeria's crypto market, estimated at 57 billion naira. The newly appointed Director General of the Commission, Emomotimi Agama, disclosed this government's latest plan during a meeting with members of the Nigerian blockchain industry. Agama confirmed that the development was currently drafting a new set of regulations to govern the crypto sector. In pursuit of securing a new $750 million loan from the World Bank, the federal government may reintroduce previously suspended telecom tax and other fiscal measures. This is according to the Stakeholder Engagement Plan for Nigeria Accelerating Resource Mobilization Reforms Program between Nigeria and the World Bank. The government might reintroduce the excises and telecom services and levy on electronic money transfers through the Nigerian banking system, among other taxes. The federal government, through the Corporate Affairs Commission, has issued a 2-month registration deadline of point-of-sales companies to register their agents, merchants, and individuals with the Commission in line with legal requirements and the directives of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The agreement was reached during a meeting between fintechs and the Registrar General, CAC, Hussaini Ishaq Magaji, in Abuja. According to the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System, there are over 1.9 million point-of-sales terminals deployed by merchants and individuals nationwide. Speaking at the meeting, the CAC boss said the measure aims at safeguarding the businesses of fintech customers and strengthening the economy. Experts have called on the federal government to implement policies that would encourage investment in the country's technology ecosystem. They stated this at the 3rd edition of the TMT Business Law Breakfast Series 2024, organized by Dwale Ovie and Alex Adedigbe in Lagos recently. The managing partner of Dwale Ovie and Alex Adedigbe, Adeniye Dwale, noted that investment policies and trade will determine how well the tech industry thrives in Nigeria. According to Alex Adedigbe, Nigeria's ecosystem is doing a great job in attracting global investment adding that the Nigerian-founded tech companies raised more than $2 billion in 2023. He said Nigeria needed good investment and policies to be able to harness its potential. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company (NNPC) Limited has once again appealed to motorists to shun panic buying of the product. In a statement signed by the Chief Corporate Communications Officer (NNPCL), Olufemi Shoneye, assures that the company of the petroleum motto spirit will continue to improve. NNPCL stated that it has over 1.5 billion liters stock of PMS, which is equivalent to over 30 days sufficiency, adding that it is collaborating with relevant agencies to address hoarding and other wholesome practices. In another development, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission says the international oil companies have proposed 26 oil blocks to be divested to indigenous companies with 8.211 million barrels of oil reserves. The Commission's chief executive, Benga Komolafe, said this at the industry dialogue on IOC's divestment of oil and gas assets in Abuja. The NUPRC said it had also engaged 2 leading global oil and gas decommissioning consultants to carry out due diligence on the proposed 26 oil blocks to be divested. Let's look at this business report filed by Kike Lomowikere.
Hello and welcome to Business Report on Prime News. The Central Bank of Nigeria has directed the banks to begin charging 0.5% cybersecurity levy on transaction. A circular released by the Apex Bank rules out that the implementation of the levy will begin 2 weeks from the day of its announcement. The circular was directed to all commercial, merchant, non-interest and payment service banks. The circular revealed that it is a follow-up on the earlier letter dated June 25, 2018, in compliance with the Cybercrime Prohibition Prevention Act 2015. And under the provision of Section 44, Section 2A of the Act, a levy of 0.5%, equivalent to a 0.5% of all electronic transaction value by the business specified in the second schedule of the Act, is to be remitted to the National Cybersecurity Fund, which the Office of the National Security Advisor shall administer. The CBN says all banks, financial institutions, and payment service providers are now required to implement the directive. The levy shall be applied at the point of electronic transfer origination, then deducted and remitted by the financial institution. The Debt Management Office has opened the subscription for May FGN saving bond priced at 1,000 per unit. The 2-year saving bond maturing on May 15, 2026 is to be offered at the interest rate of 17.407% per annum. The 3-year saving bond with a maturity date of May 15, 2027 features an interest rate of 18.407% per annum. This interest rate represents the highest ever offered by the DMO on FGN saving bond as the country moves in the direction of a further rate hike. The subscription of this bond began on May 6, 2024 and will continue until May 10, 2024 as per an announcement made by DMO. Nigeria may reinstate a previously suspended telecom tax and other fiscal measures as it seeks to secure a new $750 million loan from the World Bank. This is according to the Stakeholders Engagement Plan for Nigeria Accelerating Resource Mobilization Reform Program, dated March 2024, between Nigeria and World Bank. A copy of the plan's document suggests the government reintroduce exercise on telecom service EMT levy on electronic money transfer through the Nigerian banking system among taxes. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in July 2023 ordered the suspension of 5% excise duty on telecommunication and the import tax adjustment levy on certain vehicles. However, it appears that this suspension may be lifted to meet the program targets for a new, yet-to-be-approved World Bank loan. The program development objective is to strengthen the government's financial position by enhancing its capacity to manage and mobilize domestic resources effectively, which include improving tax and custom compliance as well as protecting oil revenues. This week starts on a bearish note in the Nigerian exchange NGX, which posted a 0.89% decline to close today with all share index of 98,703.68 points, marking an 883.57 points decline from last Friday's 99,587.25 points. The decline in the market was driven majorly by the 10% fall in the Airtel Africa share value. However, market breadth was positive as 38 stocks recorded gains in contrast with 18 that recorded losses. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
And that's it. That's where we draw the curtains on Business Points today. Don't forget to make it a date with us same time tomorrow. And follow us on all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. I am Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again.